everything. And some things I probably shouldn't have, because some people would have gone to jail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In your bio, you mentioned you had teachers who were friends and crossed paths to get into photos professionally. How did that come about?
Well, I bought my first like little point and shoot camera when I had my oldest son in 2008, and I documented everything, and I would try to,
of course,
like, you know, I'm like, oh, this digital stuff, oh my gosh, you know, and I would put him in the yard when he first started walking, and there'd be like a plant behind him, and I'd like lay on the grass and try to make it look artistic, and everyone's like, you're kind of good at this. I remember being I first got MySpace or something then, or Facebook. I think I got Facebook right after that, but I would post endless photos of him, and we were at Indian Rocks Beach, and I was taking pictures with this little, I mean, it was a tiny little Kodak, whatever, and the battery would die in 2 seconds, and the SD cards were like 1 gig, and, you know, I found one of them the other day. I'm like, they still make these, but my family was playing in the pool at my grandparents' condo out there, and I took a picture and I zoomed in on it, and my cousin told me, oh my gosh, you took that with that camera? And because the colors were so vibrant, and, you know, it wasn't the normal what everybody else takes. And I was like, okay. And I started thinking about it. Later that year, or I think, no, it was later that year, I went back to Ohio. One of my high school friends was getting married, and all the dance team girls were there. And just so happens that the photographer at the wedding, who was on dance team with us, went to high school with us. I didn't pay attention to the wedding. I mean, she looked beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I'll never forget her dress. I'll never forget her dance. I saw my friends, but I could not stop watching my high school friend and her husband taking the photos the whole time. And I found out that she lived in Orlando. So it was kind of like, oh my gosh, you know, we exchanged numbers, and then we were on Facebook, and I said to her after I got home, I am going to admit that I couldn't take my eyes off of you, and I want to know how to do what you do. And she said, go get a camera. I'll teach you. And I started doing Disney weddings like 2 weeks later. It was crazy. Yeah, it was insane. We would, at Disney, I mean, any place out there, we would go to Daytona, because she had established herself, her and her husband. I mean, they went on Good Morning America. They were that good. Like, shortly after I opened my own business, but she taught me everything. So she's like, in every single kind of wedding, and what it is you're supposed to look for, and this and this. And she saw, just after the first wedding I did with them as a trial run, she even paid me, because, you know, it's my time. And I didn't have to edit. I just handed over the memory card, and she would do everything else. But she goes, you are a natural at this. And I'm like, okay. And I liked the not editing part. that was easy peasy then. And so, I was way more fortunate than other people, learning the basics of it. Just before that, my friend Shannon, my dear friend Shannon, she was getting into photography, and she is amazing at photography. And she used me as her guinea pig as a model, because she was asking other photographers to teach her. So I'd be down in Ybor City all the time, and
strike a pose,
and posing, and, you know, voguing and stuff. And I looked back at those photos, and I'm like, well, I really thought I was going to be a model. And then after I got on the other side of the camera, I was like, forget it. Don't take my picture. Like, I will take my own pictures, and that's it. But she inspired me, and I asked her, and she said, okay, if you're going to do this for real, you need to Google this, 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 and this. And I want you to come back with those answers, because she was talking about the technical side, since you can't teach the eye, but she knew the technical part, and she took the time to learn the technical part. I still can't tell you most of the technical part. I just know the buttons on my camera and how I want the photo to look. And if it doesn't look that way, then I'll fix it in Photoshop. But I had left about a year and a half later. I left the couple and their business in Orlando, and they were actually trying to expand their business to Tampa and wanted me to be the person, you know, opening stuff for them. So on the weekends that I was not with them, I would gather all of my friends and go to my friend Jason Buck's house. And he had this whole setup. He had everything. He even told me, I'm not a photography guy, I'm a tech guy. And he had everything. backdrops, lights, this lens. So I would bring my friends there, and we would do our hair and makeup, and I would set them all up, and I would take photos, and I would just to build my portfolio. My girlfriends were putting their wedding dresses back on, and I would send the headshots and the portfolio stuff to the people in Orlando, and they were like, you are really good at this. I'm like, okay. I look back at it now, and I'm like, ugh. But because I've come a long way. You learn as you go.
It's the necessary steps.
Absolutely. But I mean, I still like the photos. They're a little cheesier. And when I was learning Photoshop, it was not really good at first. He would actually, Jason Beck would Photoshop for me and then send me the photos. And dear friend, another stepping stone, dear friend that has helped me. I still talk to him to this day. He referred a friend to me to take her boudoir photos. The red chair with the black and white with the red lips that's on my page, that's her. And she did her 40th birthday photo shoot with me. She is amazing. She is so much fun. We've become good friends too. I parted ways with the people in Orlando, and I decided I'm going to open my own place. And that's what's going to happen. And everybody, when they want to be their own photographer, they all think they're going to be Ansel Adams at first. And they all think they're going to, I'm going to be working for Vogue and just however long. They don't realize building clients is really hard. Promoting yourself is really hard. I caught a break and did a Living Social deal. Groupon and Living Social had just come out at the time, and I had reached out to Living Social because I had read online that Living Social was geared more towards women, so they didn't have a whole lot of photography stuff on there. Groupon had nothing. I ran a deal for a boudoir photo session, and I sold, I think it was 437 in the first round. It was exhausting.
That's more than there are days in the year.
Yeah, we were doing 5 shoots a day at one point just to catch up, and then Groupon came after me, and then Amazon deals came after me, and it was insanity. I had one of my girlfriends who I knew did makeup really well. We cut a deal. She's still my makeup artist to this day. And then I had another one of my girlfriends doing the makeup on the days that she couldn't because she had a day job. And it was almost like assembly line clockwork. And it was in an old cigar factory in West Tampa. The place was awesome. It was a little bit in the hood, so the clients were a little like, what? When they pulled up. But this old hippie couple owned the building, and they had architects across the hall for me. I had my own private office. I blocked out the windows. I had the bed and stuff. That's where the girls would be. Just not naked completely, like implied nude or like in their skivvies. And I would pose them, and the more that I did it, the easier it was. But then it started becoming like so much work, but it was free advertising at the same time. Living Social and Groupon take half of the money. Every time they sell a deal, it's discounted. They take half of that money for that deal. I learned that you can call businesses and say, hey, saw your Living Social deal. I'll give you a little full price for the deal. So Living Social don't take it. And you can get the same thing. Most places will. But having to do, it was 427, I think it was 37, the first round. And they just cut you a check. And then if people don't redeem them, then that's it. That's your money. And they don't come in. But there's very few people who don't follow through. And it was bad because it's not just the photo shoot. It's the hair and makeup, and then you do the photo shoot, then you have to go home and you have to edit. And I told them they get 10 edits with it, but you have to go through all the photos. And when you're doing 5 shoots a day, then you go home and you have 2 kids and it's like I was going brain dead. I lost all my creativity. It was just, I got burnt out bad.
Understandable.
Really bad. But I got a new makeup artist, and she brought life into me again. She was so cute. Her name's Morgan. She has her own hair salon, a couple of them actually. She's had a baby, got married. I love her. I put out a Craigslist ad because I needed another makeup artist to cover all the days to get this stuff done. And she was the first person to respond. And I was at Kobe and Brandon by the Brandon Mall. And I answered the phone. I never answer a number that I don't know, but she was the first person to call, and I said, I have all of these people that I booked like months ago, and I can't just let them know that I've never seen any of your work. I've never met you. So we're going to walk in there like we've been best friends for years. And she walked in like, girl, you remember the time that we did this and this and whatever? And we died laughing. And that was our first encounter, and she's been a great friend since then. It was so fun. But I lived in that studio, and I hardly saw my kids when I was home because I was just plugged to the computer.
I can imagine. A little backpedal, though. So you decide you want to open your own photography business. Do you have a business plan or any idea of how this is going to look?
Nope, not at all. It's just flying by the seat of my pants. After I said, I'm just going to do this. And the people that own the cigar factory, their entire living space is on the top floor. But the middle floor they were keeping the historical integrity of it. It was the cigar rolling floor. And it was just huge and open and old windows and bricks. And they had all these red curtains across the room. They had a basement with all this old stuff. And they had an old barber's chair that was rotting out that used to be a barber shop. It was
How'd you find it? How did you find something like that?
I found it it was like a real estate listing or something for rent, a business office, like a listing for rent, a space for rent. And there was a furniture maker behind me. There was architects across from me, and everybody that was there, because the stairs were amazing on every floor. Their place is amazing. They were architects up there too, but they ended up selling the building and traveling the country. I know, but they had this dog. It was a golden retriever. She was the sweetest thing ever, but she shed everywhere. It was Macy was her name, but she would come and she would just in the hallway or something, and everybody loved her. I would be sweeping her hair in that hallway.
So how did you fall up? Now, okay, you want to take photographies in this cigar factory. How do you fall on boudoir? How does that become a thing?
It was most of my friends wanted the sexy pictures, and that's what I was practicing at Jason Buck's house. So Shannon, my friend Shannon, who I was, her guinea pig and stuff, she was doing almost strictly boudoir, and she said, we're both good, and you have a different style than I do, and we almost went into business together because I'm more like I can't say like happy, cheerier kind of person style. I don't think my style's evolved a lot, but she was the more like darker, mysterious, that kind of style for sure. And I didn't make any time at all for my own projects or my own ideas or my own anything. I was literally assembly lining customers with this every single day. It was the same poses, same place, same spot, same whatever.
Burnout.
It was exhausting. But they had to tent the building because it got termites, and I had all of these photo shoots to do. And so I said, I live in Seminole Heights. My house has good lighting. I know what to do. I've got a nice bedroom. I'll just bring clients to my home. That was a huge mistake. Well, the first 10 of them were fine. This is the nightmare part. This is the nightmare. I had the second Living Social deal running. I had Groupon running, and I had Amazon deals that I was getting ready to sign with. So we're going to almost 1,000 shoots at this point. Yeah. And I was barely making money because I didn't have time to go do anything else. But when I would book a wedding, I would do the wedding and then be having to edit literally nonstop. My brain was melting at this point. Wow. And then I would destroy my house 4 and 5 times a day to get this done while they were tenting the building. I had a strict schedule to keep, and I forewarned all of the clients, if you are more than 15 minutes late to the appointment, I have to reschedule you. I'm not saying I'm not going to shoot you. We have to reschedule. And I even offered hair and makeup, this and this, and would schedule, Ryan, my makeup artist, or Morgan accordingly to, try to put them back to back so then they can leave and I can do people that decided they didn't want hair and makeup. This woman decided she did not want hair and makeup, and she said, I'm getting it done somewhere else. She was over 45 minutes late, and which would have put me behind. I still had 3 shoots after her. And I told her after 30 minutes, I'm like, you're too late. We're going to have to reschedule. She showed up at my house, and she proceeded to let me know about myself. This is the first time I'd ever recorded on my phone. I don't even know if I still have that video. I hope I don't. She spit at my door. I had to almost shut the door, and she spit at my door. And then she proceeded to go down the porch and into the yard and start ripping the plants up. This woman was a doctor or an attorney. I forgot. She had a really nice job, a really nice Mercedes, and it was
really bad temper.
She couldn't handle. I did this and this. I'm like, I told you this is the time. I warned you about this part. You're 45 minutes late. You're putting me behind for the rest of the day. It's not fair to everybody else. So let's find a day that we can